Welcome back to the Warrior Servant Leader podcast. We're so happy you're here today. We have an incredible guest who's gone from being an Olympic trial swimmer to co-founder of LoyaltyOps, an operational advisory firm that installs the structural foundation that keeps execution strong as organizations grow. In her career so far, she's been responsible for doubling the growth of a leading fitness company every year for 3 consecutive years, and is the founder of 2 companies and has worked with multi-million-dollar organizations to grow even stronger and better. Since then, she co-founded LoyaltyOps with her husband, a retired Tier 1 assaulter in the Special Missions Unit, Ottawa, Canada. Together, they have spent their careers studying one major question: how do capable people execute reliably when the pressure is real and the margin for error is small? Welcome, Michaela, Mickey Anderson, to the Warrior Servant Leader podcast. Mickey, we're so glad to have you here, and I can't wait to see how you guys have merged special ops and business ops into a business that helps people grow and not struggle. So that question that you guys have concentrated on, because I actually was gonna change that intro and say, how is it that capable people fail when the pressure is real and the margin for error is so small? So let's start there, and we'll just grow this conversation.
Let's dig in. And thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here. My husband and I have worked in so many different teams and groups, and things are great when there's no pressure, when it's easy going, when everyone's good and chill. But as the pressure rises, as the stakes get high, as the timelines condense, we default to habits. We default to what we've seen, what we've experienced, and what's been modeled around us. And that's where we start to see deviation from what we would consider the standard or what we want to see in our teams. And so my husband and I, he brought all of his military background into the organization, and I've spent many years building and growing companies and teams. And we put our heads together to think about, what is it that really sets these fantastic teams apart? And it's nothing magical. It's nothing really new. It's the foundations. It's the simple things from the very beginning. How are you setting expectations? How are you modeling those expectations in your people? How are we making decisions and holding each other accountable? And how are we coordinating so we're moving as a unit, not as individuals working in parallel?
And now I didn't come out of special ops, but I commanded special units, narcotics, vice, intelligence, that kind of stuff. And you're so on point that unit integrity and moving forward together with the mission and vision is essential. The trouble, I guess, becomes when obstacles and challenges arise, and maybe you're not a special operator, and you're an entrepreneur, and you're growing, and things are going really well, and then the proverbial defecation hits the oscillator happens, and I just got to share this so people can picture. When I say things turn to, and I'm Irish, so I'm going to use an Irish word. When things turn to shite, it really disrupts your mindset and your day. And so people can picture this, get in the moment. I remember when we had our first 2 kids. They were 16 months apart, so affectionately called Irish twins. And I borrowed my dad's practically brand new Pontiac to take my wife and 2 kids to go see the other grandparents in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And because we had a Chevette, and it was not terribly reliable, and we were going. It was like for Christmas, so it's a big deal, big event. I'm telling you, our daughter, who was, I don't know how many months old she was. She blew her diapers off 3 times in 30 minutes, and the clothes, 3 days worth of clothes because we had to pull off the highway, change the diaper, change the clothes 3 times in 30 minutes. And I just was like losing my mind of why can't she just hold on to it till we get to Pittsburgh, which was like a 4-hour drive. And so in the business, so I want people, picture that. Now take that kind of disruption in a business operation. So what's the secret sauce or not even secret sauce? What is the really down to earth fundamental skill sets people need to have for when those kind of disruptions in your business or your personal life happen?
It's gonna sound so cliche when I say it, and I hate to say it this way, but it's the only way that I know how to articulate it, and it's about clarity. It's, what is the reason we are doing this in the first place? What is the most important thing here? It's getting to Christmas safely, right?
Yeah.
We know that in the moment, as much as the stress can hit you and the kids screaming and you're out of change of clothes and you're like, oh gosh, we got to hang on. The most important thing in that moment is, okay, we're going to get to Christmas safely. We know that's the outcome. We have a reason why we're doing this. We understand that we're driving and we're going to hit bumps, but ultimately we can get through this, right? In business, we end up with competing priorities and 2 key things that come up and shake the ground in every department, every function, every team. And it's assumptions and exceptions. So assumptions are when we are coming up with the purpose on our own. We're assuming we know why we're going. We assume we know what the backup plan is. We assume the behaviors we should be implementing or modeling in those moments. And then we've seen exceptions when our leaders do things differently in certain circumstances, when things have happened and we changed the plan or changed the way we do things. And that's how we're making decisions in the moment. We're using our assumptions and those exceptions to figure out how do we get through this. And those 2 things are what are going to set your team up for success or set them up for failure. The less you make them assume, the more clarity they have, the easier it is to keep things moving and make the right decision. And when you're really clear about the exceptions, what holds and what doesn't, and why, again, in those moments of turbulence, of chaos, it's really easy to get back on track and know what's expected of you. But when you let those 2 things fly, teams diverge, decisions diverge, priorities diverge, and everyone ends up doing their own thing in their own way, which does not drive the team, the unit, the organization forward in the way that it wants to go. So it's really about clarity.
No, oh man, I'll tell you, Ed, I do this every show. I'm that Irish setter that sees a squirrel running across the backyard and goes zoom and goes after it. And I'm taking notes as you're talking, and you're talking about assumptions and exceptions. And I remember the old saying, well, when you assume something, you make a ass out of you and me, kind of deal. But what I actually started visualizing, we had 5 kids. And I use this example when I'm training people about in the arena of assumptions. Every Friday when the kids were growing up, every Friday was laundry day. And so, it was usually my wife, because I worked midnights for a long time. She would go in on Thursday and tell the kids, clean up your rooms because tomorrow is cleaning day and laundry day. And then she would leave, because when she'd go in, she couldn't tell what was clean clothes and dirty clothes that were all over the floor, because they're slobs, and then she'd come back later and the rooms are immaculate till she opened the closet, and everything that was strewn all over the floor is now shoved into the closet, and she still doesn't know what's clean and what's dirty. And there was an assumption on our part that the kids understood what it meant when mom said, clean up your room. So we had to get clarification with them on what that meant. And then the whole thing on exceptions. Boy, did we have that battle with 5 kids over, right? range of 13 years, difference in age. And we would catch it from them all the time. You're the older ones. You're letting the little ones get away with murder, and the little ones are like, well, and they'd come up with an excuse, and you're changing the rules, and we don't know why. And and growing up with having them growing up constantly going, well, why this, why that, why? And I can see in the business world, and especially in the law enforcement arena where I came out of, is that you couldn't rely on assumptions. You had to have that clarity. It's kind of like you got to clean your glasses off if you're going to see clearly.
Mm-hmm.
So, and here's kind of the rub. I think a lot of businesses and a lot of organizations find themselves in is performance is going well, but it's personality driven. And then that A type personality go getter, that, really great leader or manager moves out of the organization. And you go, everything dives. So how can an organization, how can a business, an entrepreneurship, which everybody that is an entrepreneur has this mindset: if I want it done right, I got to do it myself, because they're so invested in the
Mm-hmm.
success of a company. How do you get people to get out of that mindset and into the collective mission vision that you're talking about?
There's a few different steps, but on your parenting note, I mean, so my husband was in the military, and for our first 8 years of marriage, he was gone about 290 to 300 days a year, right? So he was deployed all the time. And so I
Wow.
was single parenting at home, trying to manage everything. I was the key person dependency. If I was gone, everything fell apart. And so my husband would come home from deployments, and we'd have what we call the transition phase, right? Reintegration, as they call it there, where we'd have to figure out, how do we do this together? And it came down to, let's have a conversation. Here's how we do things here. Here's my expectation. Here's what I'm going to own. Here's what you're going to own. I'm going to be your buddy through this and help you through it. But ultimately, the goal is that you can do these things on your own without my help. I'll always be here if you need me. But this is how we're going to work together. And it sounds really cold in a relationship, but ultimately, it saved our marriage like many, many times, right? That just really direct. This isn't a personal thing. It's not, I'm better than you. It's, I've been here longer, I'm doing more. It's, we're a team, and we both want this family to function beautifully. We both want to have a great parenting experience. We want our kid to be awesome, and the household to be clean, and things to function well, right? We're clear on that. How we get there together needs to be explicit. And it's funny because as we transitioned, my husband recently retired from the military, and we built this company together, and I travel more than he does now. And so when I'm gone, he's now at home managing the household, right? And when I come back, it's like, all right, how are we going to play this game together? How are we going to catch up and do it? And it's the same thing. Yeah, there's some personality differences, but ultimately, it's really the same format on a team. If you have a key person who is carrying the workload, and the context and information is in their head, and they do it all, that's not scalable, that's not sustainable, and something's always going to happen, right? We know this. The life is change, stuff happens all the time, and so you need to be willing to get that clarity with your team. What are we doing? Why are we doing it? Where are we going? How do we operate here? Great. Now, let's make sure we're all on the same page in terms of our standards and expectations of each other, how we're going to hold ourselves accountable, who owns what, and how do we collaborate and communicate throughout the process. It sounds complicated. It sounds like a lot, but I like to break it down into a really simple, I call it our flywheel. And there's 4 stages. And this is really helpful for anyone in communications and leadership, whether it's your relationship at home. I use this on my husband. Don't tell him. Uh, but it's really simple. We start off with that communication piece, which is, let's talk about the why, the what, the how. Let's just get really explicit here. And it's not just verbal or written, it's also modeling. How am I showing my expectations to others? The next phase is collect. How am I getting feedback and confirming understanding? Because just because I say it and do it doesn't necessarily mean they get it. So how am I confirming? We use a bunch of different tools here that you're probably familiar with. Back briefing is one of them, right? I want you to repeat back to me your understanding and your next steps so we're on the same page and you don't go 2 weeks down the rabbit hole and I figure out you're doing the wrong thing. Once we've confirmed understanding, we've got feedback loops so we can stay in touch and make sure we're on the same page. So next is commit. Okay, great. What do you own? How are we holding ourselves and each other accountable to this goal, this project, this thing that we're doing together? Do we have a clear way of calling each other out in a nice, respectful way? Is it an expectation that I'll call myself out first before someone else does if something goes wrong? Right? How are we showing our ownership and commitment? And the last one's continuously improve, which is, okay, great. So we've done some things, we've learned some things. What are we going to do with it? What are we going to take? What are we going to leave behind? What are we going to adapt? And then it goes right back to that communicate phase. And you can keep cycling through that flywheel really seamlessly to make sure that we've got clarity and understanding of what we're doing and why. Feedback loops to confirm we all understand. We all know who owns what and how we're holding each other accountable. And we have a path to reflect and learn and grow from it.
Wow. That what you just described reminds me of I watched a video once of the Blue Angels
Yep.
and how they have that pre-performance where they sit around a table and they're sitting in the same order as their plane is in the performance, from 1 to 6, whatever the number is, and they close their eyes and literally verbalize and do the manual shifting of the stick or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not a pilot, but they do the whole air show sitting in a conference room. Then they go out and do the air show. Then they come back afterwards and do that debrief, accountability and commitment. But you're not being evaluated by, the number one, the commander.
Exactly.
You do debrief what you did well, what you could have done better, and they always end with and I'm honored to be a part of this team. So that's what I picture as you were going. And it's funny you called it a flywheel, and that's actually what triggered it when you use the word fly. I'm like, oh, this is the Blue Angels.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts then on the state of affairs in the business world when it comes to performance evaluations, and are they a waste of time, that we're still doing the same thing the same way and expecting different outcomes, which is insanity?
Insanity. Yeah.
So how do you consult with or mentor CEOs and executives and managers in that arena? Okay, yeah, we're going to do it as we're going through, particular building a brand or doing specific projects, but you get that annual performance evaluation. How do you consult people on that?
I'm sure you can relate to this, and many of the listeners and viewers can too. Most performance reviews stink. They're really just not good. And we all know it, right? The managers usually know it. The individuals or employees know it. It's just not a great experience for anyone. And the reason is it's really arbitrary. We're setting these objectives, but there's a complete lack of clarity on what the actual expectations on the day-to-day looks like, right? Everyone's really good at setting goals these days. We've got all these different systems and things for setting clear objectives, setting goals, right? But how we do the work is left to chance and left to individual assumptions and exceptions. So that part is really key. When we're looking at performance reviews with individuals, a lot of times it's, did you meet the objective? Yes or no? Are you going to get this change in compensation? Yes or no? As opposed to, these are the behaviors that we're expecting of you. These are the standards that we uphold here. Did you meet these? Yes or no? What are you going to do? What did you understand? What did you not understand? How can we support you in this growth? Right? We love to evaluate without developing people, without clarifying and setting them up for success, and then blame it on the individual. I just need better people. It's my favorite excuse to hear. If I just had good people, right? But no, it's not that. You have great people. Most teams are comprised of really good B players. You can turn them into A players with
Yeah.
clarity, with communication, with development. But if your expectation is someone's going to come in and fly the ship for you, you're going to struggle because you never train them your checklist. You never train them your standards. You didn't give them the proper route, right? So
Yeah.
it's getting back to basics of, are we really clear on what we're expecting of this person? Are they clear on it? Have they self evaluated and identified their growth, their challenges? Great. Let's get together and come up with a development plan that's not going to be like a PIP, as we all love those performance
Yeah.
improvement plans, but that's truly going to develop this person to become what we need them to be.
Yeah. Eh, Man, it's one of the things that I've seen. I had 8 either actual police chiefs or acting police chiefs in a 26-year career on the same agency. So there was always this roller coaster ride of if you got a uh, a, a toxic boss, not a leader, but a toxic boss. It was like, okay, we just duck and wade through it because they're not going to be here in 18 months or 2 years, and that's not a productive way of living your work life. Um,
And
and that,
most people don't think they're the bad guy.
right,
This
and
is
that's what
something,
that's it. It's like
yeah,
what if when you say the boss is going, "Ah, man, I just need better people, and the people are going, man, we need if we just had a better boss, kind of deal,
yeah,
and the two never sit down and talk.
yeah.
So how do you without it feeling like because I know what a lot of people are going to be out there thinking is, oh yeah, this is a touchy feely, kumbaya kind of experience. What's the reality, the real way? Uh, no excuses, no touchy feely uh, kind of icebreakers. Uh, how how do we actually in positions of leadership or even in um, you're not in a position of leadership formally, but you are the leader of that work unit, the one that everybody looks up to. How do we get them the skill sets to be able to get the best out of people? Because I can expect, my dad used to say this, you can inspect in one hand and crap in the other and see which one fills up first. So, how do we get realistic expectations and get folks the skill sets to achieve those expectations?
Yeah. And a as much as this is going to sound harsh, 99.9% of the challenges we see in business operations and in teams comes down to leadership. And we expect so much of leaders. We expect them to be everything to everyone, to be adaptable, to be visionary, to be motivating, to
Right.
be, all these things. But most of the time, we all have, the hand we were dealt, right? We have some
Mm.
great strengths, we have some weaknesses, and to expect everyone to be able to have everything as a strength is just unrealistic. So a lot of it's self-awareness of, okay, great, I'm strong in these areas, I suck in these ones. Who can I bring in to help bridge that gap for me?
Yeah. And I can't remember what author said this. Uh, you got to make sure you got the right people in the right seats
Yep.
because you could have the right person, but you stick them in the wrong seat, then you're just asking for disaster. Um,
Yeah. And I
so
think
are
it's not just one seat, it's the whole bus. So a
yeah,
lot of people assume that we jump to individual performance before we really look at the whole structure itself and was it set up with the right seats in the right order and how do they impact each other
mhm,
before we jump right into, do I have the right people in the right seats? So it's a big step back first to look at the whole system, say, okay, great. This is what we've got right now. Are we actually set up in a way that makes sense? Do these functions work together well? Do we have the structure needed to support these people when we
yeah.
throw them on this bus and try and figure out what seats they're going to grab? If not, there's usually some time needed to really deconstruct and then reconstruct what this needs to look like so that we can get the right people in the right seats in the first place.
And is that the way you're putting it? It'd almost be like, is that the reason why many businesses fail? Is because they don't have the right structure in place because they're so excited about the mission and vision and the enthusiasm, and we're going to make this work. And what do they call that? You jump out of a plane and I'll figure it out on the way
Oh
down.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that kind of mindset um, is I don't know. Is
Yeah.
that kind of an accurate way of why many companies what's the failure rate in new startups? You
Oh,
know
it's
what
massive. Yeah,
three
it's
three
massive.
to 3 to 5 years, type deal that they're gone.
Well, one of the
Um,
the key reasons is because as you grow, so when you first start off your organization, you're run by proximity. You've got the founder or the leader who has all the decisions, who has all the
mhm,
priorities, who has all the context in their head, and they're close enough to the people on the ground that it's easy and fast to share, lead, and keep moving. But as you increase headcount and complexity, that proximity starts to decrease, and you end up with more new people than you do old people. And so, how do you set these new people up for success so that they have the context, so that all the decisions don't end up on the same person's desk all the time, right? We call it the coordination layer. We're really good at setting goals. We're really good at setting tasks, at creating processes. But how are our people and our functions coordinating together so we are working as a unit, not individual functions and departments that are self optimizing? I know
mhm.
my department's objectives. I'm going to do everything I can to meet those. I have no idea what the other departments are doing or focused on. And I don't know how it all comes together and ties to the bigger company objective. So that clarity again, it's like, this is what we're shooting for, guys, as a company. This is how each of you plays into that. And now we need to make sure that there's collaboration and communication between those functions. So we're all on the same page and
Mhm.
everyone's moving us in the right direction because things will shift. But if sales is just optimizing for sales, but customer service has none of that information, you're going to end up with silos and really bad customer experience. We're going to have huge churn rates within your company. So it's that coordination between all the pieces that matters the most, in my opinion.
Wow. And so, kind of two questions. One, what are some realistic things that you've seen work in creating that team building to because everybody has they got an operational side, they got a accounting department, they've got HR, they've got the C suites, they get all these different silos. What are some practical ways that a company or an organization can ensure that they don't have that structured silo? That's one question.
Yep.
The other one, the thing that I think that we fail most at is we are great on the concept of accountability and consequences for failure, but we do nothing to support our people when we have successes because we just and part of that on the one hand, I think it's actually kind of the employees, at least in law enforcement. A cop does something, exceptional, and they're going to get the Medal of Valor. They're going to get this commendation, and they trivialize it or minimize it by going, "Hey, I was just doing my job," and and no, you weren't. You're doing so. This is
Above and
this is
beyond.
and this is great, and we want to celebrate it, and we as the employee downplay it of it's no big deal, and then the message to everybody else is, well, if it's just my job, then I don't care about this organization. Uh,
Yeah.
so
So,
how do we get that deconstruct that silo mentality, and how
mhm,
do we spend more time um, building up and not rewarding, but the positive feedback instead of the once a year performance evaluation that says, "Hey, you screwed up here.
yeah.
Do better."
Such great questions. On the first one, my favorite favorite way to deal with organizational silos comes back to your Blue Angels example. So what you were describing is a process we call bottom-up planning, or sometimes referred to as war games. And most plans are made at the top and thrown down at people to execute with very little understanding of what they're actually doing, the context, the challenges. Like we're just throwing plans, leadership down. You're going to do this thing in this way, go. And expecting success out of that, expecting that we're going to get the result that we want when we have none of the real information needed and no ownership from the people doing the work. So we flip it on its head. If you have an objective or a problem, how can you get your team, the people doing the work, involved, taking ownership and feeling tied to the plan? So one of the processes we follow, this is totally ripped off from the military and other operations, but it's fantastic and it's been used in business really, really well, is this process of bottom-up planning. So leadership has a problem or an objective. They're like, all right, we want to double revenue in the next year, right? This is a big one. Okay, how in the world are we going to do this? Well, we see three kind of pathways. One is we enter a new market. One is we double our sales staff and really push on where we're at. And the third is, efficiencies on the back end. Do we have enough information to be able to make the call on which one of these is the right one, or the resources to do all three? No, probably not. So let's get our people involved here. Let's bring everyone together, brief them on the objective, and then have them separate out into three groups and plan what it would take and how they would approach that. One group will take on, let's look at new market. The next group will take on, okay, maximizing sales capacity, adding resources there. And the third will be efficiencies. They go out, time condensed, build the plan, come back, brief leadership. Here's what we see. Here's what we would do. Here are the assumptions we're making. Here's the challenges we could face. Now leadership has, from the ground, real information to be able to make a great call. And the people doing the work are the ones creating the plan. So not only they take ownership, they get it. They understand what it's tied to, why, how it's going to work, what the constraints are. And then from that, leadership can say, great, makes sense. We're going to do a hybrid approach, or we're going to choose this option. Everyone understands what it is now. You're going to go and get ready for it. And then we're going to do what's called a rehearsal of concept, which is that sit down together and go through the whole thing to make sure that we understand exactly what could happen, how it's going to roll, make sure that we're not making any assumptions, we're not missing any gaps, and then you're going to go and execute it. It's one of my favorite ways to do it. You can do it in an individual department. You can do it across multi-departments or multi-functions. You can make your annual strategic plan with it, but you really are getting people from the ground involved, collaborating, communicating with others within the organization, and understanding the whole point of the plan.
Wow. Squirrel just ran across. As you're sharing that, and again, I don't remember the author. But the thing is, start with the end in mind.
Yeah.
That kind of concept, and then to take it out of the business world. We do this exact same thing with our kids as they're growing up, and we ask that question: what do you want to be when you grow up? And we start getting them to think, with the end in mind. When you're an adult and out of the house, how are you going to make a living? What do you want to do? What do you want to be? Those kinds of questions. And then we help them process through, well, hey, these are the classes you need to take in high school. These are the colleges you may want to look at. And we're assisting them in achieving an end in mind that they have had a part in creating that end. How many people, well, my dad was a doctor, so I'm going to be a doctor. My dad was a lawyer, so I'm going to be a lawyer, because that's what they expect. It's the family business kind of deal. And I can speak from personal experience. Everybody told me, Pat, you're going to be a great lawyer. You need to go to law school. So I went high school, straight to college, graduated, straight to law school, graduated, passed the bar, prosecutor for 4 years, and I hated almost every minute of that career path. And one night my wife says to me, I was 28 years old. We've been married 6 years, 3 kids, third one on the way. She goes, what do you really want to be doing? I said, I want to be a cop since I was a little kid. And I believe that's my vocation. That's my calling. That's how God has gifted me. She goes, then go do it. But I had led my life up until that point with the end in mind was everybody else's ending, not mine,
Mm-hmm.
kind of deal. So I hear what you're saying is that we know these things, we do them in other aspects of our lives, but we fail to see that when we go to our 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so
It's so true.
I can just see so many. I've been taking so many notes here. I'm running out of room. Um,
Well, and the word you mentioned there, vocation, is one that I want to come back to because it ties right to that second question about, celebrating the milestones, about the above and beyond performances that we see.
right.
And there's a few things that are really great about seeing successful performance and above and beyond situations. And the first is obviously it makes the person feel really great. They've done something, they feel like they've achieved something, there's personal ownership in it. Great, I did something great. Now, of course, we always have that kind of humbleness to us, but I don't want people to think that I'm full of myself. And so we tend to tie it back. But
Yeah.
the other piece to this is, as a leader within an organization, those moments create a standard for everyone else to see. And
Yeah.
when you see that and you treat it as if it's nothing, no big deal, and you let the person treat it as if it's no big deal, you let everyone else believe it's no big deal. And this is a job, not a vocation. But when you honor it, you commemorate it, you build momentum around it, you show the entire organization these moments, that outcome, that life saved, that's why we're all here. This is our vocation, and we all have different roles within it. And there's different ways we can step up and meet and go above that standard. This is one beautiful example of that.
Yeah.
Let's honor it and let's leverage it. And we
Well,
tend to treat people's jobs like a job. We
yeah.
expect them to treat it like a vocation, but as leaders, we treat it like it's just a job, right?
Yep.
We're going to do performance reviews. We're going to do this, that, and the other thing, as opposed to what does this person want out of this job? What is their purpose here? How are they tied to our mission, vision, values? How do I get the most out of that and make sure they feel that in their day to day when they achieve things, when they make mistakes and learn from them? So that they come in and treat it as a vocation. We expect everything from our employees, but we give them very, very little. And loyalty, which is the name of our company, LoyaltyOps, is all about it being mutually beneficial,
Yeah.
right? Loyalty works best when it comes from both people and it's beneficial on both sides. So you as an organization want your people to be loyal to you, but you need to be loyal to them as well in order to earn that and keep it and make the most out of it. So that's really the lesson there, is we need to treat those roles within our organization as more than just roles.
And again, squirrel. And this I know because I'd read it before, but as you're talking, this is an incredible example of why it is so important to do the things that you're talking about. So there was this lady chemist that worked for DuPont, and I don't know if you know her name.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so this is going to be a new story for you. So there was this lady chemist that was working for DuPont, and she was tasked as being in their research and development department to come up with a material that would make the perfect car tire, like an indestructible car tire. And so she's running all these different experiments, and is she just what wasn't getting to what they needed that was affordable, that could be reasonably manufactured, and et cetera, et cetera. And she basically was like, okay, well, that we're not going to come up with the perfect tire. But on her own, she remembered there was this one time that I did this, and it came, the component wasn't suitable for a tire, but what this thing did, this final product, was extraordinary. She wanted to do some more research on that, and she did. And you know how many thousands of lives she has saved based on that? Picking up, it's not just my job, it's my
Mm-hmm.
vocation, it's my calling. Create something that will make life better for people. You know how many thousands of lives she saved?
Mm.
We probably can't count them, but you know what her invention was?
What was it?
Kevlar.
Oh my
She
gosh.
discovered Kevlar. And did she get any attaboys and great recognition from DuPont or anybody else? No, but towards the end of her life, she was born in 1923. She invented Kevlar in 1965, and she passed away in 2014. She was inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame and the National Women's Hall of Fame for her pioneering work.
Wow.
But
She saved my
she
husband's
got
life a few times.
Yeah, and many
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I can't count the number of
Yeah.
cops that
Yeah.
that she saved. And nobody knows about her, but her name is
Yeah.
Stephanie Kwolek, Kwolek. And that is an example of someone who is working for a multinational, big, giant organization who doesn't see simply that it's a paycheck.
Mm.
And, I don't think that was uh, the atmosphere at DuPont, but she had that personal commitment. And I'm sure then she was a shining example for other people in R&D of, hey, it's not just a job. This is our vocation.
And now
And
imagine if DuPont leadership had empowered, had recognized, had listened, had
mhm,
invested in that employee, knowing and trusting and allowing her to really push that forward. Imagine the
yep.
impact on the organization that it could have had, right? So I think again, it comes back to what are we really here for? Is it for
Hmm.
shareholder profits and, or are we here to make something amazing? Are we here to really create a legacy? And that's the difference. I mean, when it's an owner or founder who's driving the organization, who's personally invested and their ambition lies within the organization and what we can create, the impact, it creates a very different atmosphere than I'm here to make a buck.
Yeah. And that's another squirrel. That is one of my pet peeves in a way is if you're creating a business so that you can have an exit strategy in 3 years, then is it really just about making the money? And if it is, that's fine. For you, it's yeah. I want to build in 5 years. I want to build a multi-million-dollar organization and be bought out by Exxon or something. Whatever, some company. Uh, I get that. That's your goal. And maybe you're a serial entrepreneur. That's great because I want to build it, sell it, and then go on and build something else and sell it. I totally with that. But my caution would be you need to be totally with why it may not work.
I mean,
Because if the people that and I have a friend that this happened to is in the space industry
mm,
is great company to work for, loved it and everything, but the founder never shared, hey, I'm in this for that 3 to 5 year and then I'm out. And he got out and the new owners came in and basically sliced and diced up the company and people lost their jobs or they
yeah.
quit and went somewhere else because we lost that camaraderie, we lost that human interaction and stuff. So I think what goes back to what you were saying is no assumptions and have clarity. Now what if how do you deal with, and maybe you haven't dealt with it yet, uh, that you get a CEO that goes, KMA, um, kiss my what, and
Hmm.
uh, and you know what, I don't need your help anymore, kind of deal. Um, how do you how do you deal with that kind of response from somebody when you're trying to instill excellence and they're content with mediocrity?
My personal philosophy is lead with curiosity. So if somebody comes in and has the doors shut and they're not interested, it's usually for a reason. They've been burned before and they're cautious. They have so much on their plate. They're torn at home. There's something going on. that's making this feel really low on the priority list.
Mm-hmm.
And when you make assumptions, again, oh, this person just doesn't get it. Oh, this person's self-centered. Oh, they don't believe in people. Again, you make an ass out of you and me. So
Yeah.
how do we lead with curiosity and have a real and honest and direct conversation around, all right, I get that this isn't a priority for you right now. Tell me why. Let's walk through what you've got on your plate right now, because I can guarantee you pretty well that all this stuff is going to make what you're doing infinitely harder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. If you want to
Yeah.
keep doing what you're doing and stay where you're at, that is totally fine. And you can make that decision. We don't have to work together. But I'd love to get a better understanding of what's going on here, because there may be a different path. We don't necessarily have to go the same way. There's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, so to speak. We can find different paths to move forward that are going to deliver incredible results, that are going to have an impact. They might be shorter term. They might be a different strategy. Like, let's talk through this, because usually it's not a no or a yes. It's a, how do we make this work so that it's manageable and so that I can keep doing what I need to be doing, or taking care of these other priorities or things that are on my plate.
Yeah. No, great advice. And I think I can see one of the dangers of, in a way, is so many CEOs and people in leadership positions have this fallback mentality of, well, we can, and I hate this expression, we can always just pivot. And that becomes an excuse or a crutch, not a game, or it becomes the game plan. Well, hey, let's give this a shot. And if it doesn't, and because I don't want to really go through all that, sit down and have groups do their, you're going to do this, and we're going to revisit it. Let's just roll the dice. And if it doesn't work, we can always pivot. And it might be, you're going to pivot right into bankruptcy. But or you lose your working staff. Here now, this is, and I didn't say anything at the beginning as far as the audience would be concerned, but I know that you have a special weekly sessions that, and so tell me about, and I use the F word, free weekly workshops that LoyaltyOps puts on every weekly.
Yeah, every Wednesday at noon, we have a free hour where we'll walk through a problem and a really simple framework for you to be able to work through that problem in your company. So it could be clarity from the top. We don't have a clear understanding of who we are, what we do, why we do it, or where we're going. And that's causing confusion because we've made pivots and the company's evolved and not everyone's on the same page. So we'll walk you through, okay, great, no problem. Let's walk through what it looks like to define these statements, how to pressure test them, how to model them, and then how to roll them out seamlessly in your organization. It could be you've got infinite meetings and nobody's making decisions and everybody's spending 80% of their time talking and not getting work done. Let's audit your meetings. We'll show you a simple way to take a look at the types of meetings you have, the types of decisions needed, the purpose, the minimum viable participants, all those things, so that you can go and execute on that really quickly and roll that into your company to save yourself some time in meetings and get better communication. So we choose a different framework that we install with companies every week. And we just basically teach you from start to finish. Here's what it looks like. Here's how to install it in your company. Go give it a test run and then bring us back the feedback. So we run those every week. Not every company is going to be able to invest and work with us in any capacity, and that's okay. So we wanted a path to be able to share this great work with everyone, so that regardless of whether you're a one-person show and you're like, man, I'm having a hard time, holding myself accountable to these activities. Let's work through what that looks like. Or I don't know how to set priorities for the different functions in my organization, or whatever it might be. We wanted a path to be able to share those frameworks with people for free every week.
Man, that's like the ultimate lunch and learn. And you said noon. Is that noon Eastern?
Noon
time?
Eastern. Yeah.
Okay.
Noon Eastern time.
And that's at loyaltyops.com/workshops.
You got it. Yeah.
Awesome. And that will be in the notes for our listeners. Any kind of final, this is fun because we're having that very frank conversation of the reality of it's not all this PhD academic kind of world. life in the trenches.
Mhm.
Any last kind of final thoughts or words or takeaways that to give to our listeners?
I think the last thing I'd say is in this day and age with every different AI and tool and technology being the hot new thing, the shiny objects are wild right now. My belief and the line I'm drawing in the sand is that the competitive advantage in the age of AI and technology that will set companies apart are their teams, not the technology. Because most companies are building groups of people who are self optimizing and working in parallel. They're not collaborating, they're not coordinating, they're not working together to force multiply. And if you can focus on that, you are going to see a massive improvement within your organization, within your teams, within your people, and the impact that you create for your clients. So focus on teams, not just I need better people or I need better technology.
Yeah. Another squirrel. It's like I put this. It's like applying everything you're saying to your personal life, and people go, keep working and home separate. Not what you just described is, we had 5 kids, we had 5-bedroom house. We could have the greatest house in the world, and it's pretty, and everybody likes it and wants it, and they each have their own silo, their own little room.
Mhm.
But what do we demand of our kid? What did we demand of our kids as they were growing up? We had family dinner. We
Yep.
sat down together and we shared about how your day was and different things. But to build teamwork, a team, to build a family, you have to act like one. And so what you're sharing, that the AI, yeah, boy, that's great. Technology is great, but the human factor is greater. And so that's what's some great solid advice. And I'm telling you, our audience, please check out loyaltyops.com and the workshops, and take advantage of their offer to have some lunch and learns and help you create the better, stronger personal and professional life that you're craving for.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, Mickey, thank you. This was so much fun to talk to you, and so encouraging for our audience. I've already said it, but I'm going to say it again because repetition's the mother of learning. Check out loyaltyops.com and take advantage of their offer to help you be a better person and a better organization. As always, follow us on YouTube and on LinkedIn. Everything about the Warrior Servant Leader podcast.com can be found there. Follow PJ, I'm sorry, PJ. That's my name tag was PJ Wells. Pat Wells J at Pat Wells JD, Instagram, LinkedIn, Substack. Check out our books on Amazon: Warrior Servant Leader, Life Behind the Badge; Warrior Servant Leader, Life Behind the Cross. And always, always, always strive to do the right thing at the right time, the right way, and for the right reasons, because that's what warriors, servants, and leaders do every day, every time. Mickey, again, thank you. Audience, we love you, and see you next week.